Dear students, we'll be talking about now question number 51. The question says why parents like you as a son, daughter, or what they don't like in you, and what you want to improve on, why. Now this is called a self-analysis question. You're not supposed to jump and answer, but you have to prepare this so that within few seconds of buffer time to really groove your mind, you can speak on it. They ask you what they don't like in you. So there are certain things, like as I told you earlier also, parents always want you to make you stronger and the best. Because they really get attached to you over the period of time. They want to promote you as a legacy of their family. So they always want you to be better. And in the process, they keep telling you do this better. In case you are not able to complete, so they try to help you that. Now, I'm not talking of those nagging parents. I'm talking of healthy parents. Healthy parents always give you time to time advice. So the same thing you have to tell what your parents think. That, for example, you are already doing well. Some of you are good speakers, good thinkers. There are some people who hesitate in talking. There are some people who tend to have too much of nocturnal study time. Nocturnal means studying in the night time and not getting up early and not keeping them fit. Now your parents will always advise you that, keep yourself early riser. You know what is this concept of early rising? I want to teach you that. That is one thing which is also taught by different religion. Every religion teaches the same. You'll find it that in the Hindus also we talk about Brahm Muhurat, getting up earlier than the sun rises. Similarly, the Muslim also, they do think of this, and that is why you hear the azan early in the morning. Similarly, you also hear the Christians doing the same. Why? Because it keeps you mentally fit, mentally alert, and you get the right transition time, and thus by the middle of the day, you have done major portion, and by the evening, you are able to complete a lot of things properly, and it's productive. Even in the evening, if you play a little, that will be healthy for you. That is why they tell you to wake up early. So there, in the present time, most of you people have a habit of sleeping very late, and you get up late. That's something which your parents tell you. And second thing, if you don't get up early in the morning, how will you help in the family? So these are general things which parents tell you. Because once you get into the habit, then it is very difficult to break the habit. That is why parents always teach you good habits. And that's exactly what they don't like in case you've not developed it. Now, a lot of people are doing multiple things. They're doing this, they're doing that. So sometimes they get late. Now, parents tell that keep some buffer time and don't try to get late. Try to go by punctuality. Always try to keep words of others. What are they teaching you? They're teaching you as per their experiences, so that you learn from their mistakes or learn from their experience and become a more complete personality and more successful personality. Now let's talk what they don't like in you. As I've already told you, what they like in you is, of course, if you're a responsible son, if you're very helpful to everyone, if you're caring, you understand how to live in economical zone. I think everybody doesn't like a son or a person who wastes away their resources. And I'm sure many of you are not. And in case you are, you better correct it. So what they do is, they don't want that you be wasting your economies, you waste your electricity, you waste your other things, and then you cry. No, that's not what they want. So that's exactly what you want. And what they want you to improve, that is the same thing. So I hope you understood this. Now you have to sit down and with a piece of paper, and on the guidelines I have provided, try to prepare yourself so that you will be having a clear answer. Again, I am telling you, while you create these answers, create points. When you clear this answer in your mind, create points. I'm going to talk this. 2, 3, 4, 5 points, and you will be having a good amount of clarity in your thoughts. So you will be able to give a good interview. Now, in interview, I have already said, what is consistent is truth. So if you are consistent in your thought process, if you are consistent in whatever you are telling every time, it will be considered that you are speaking true, and they will regard you as a competent and a true person. So do that. Now we come down to question number 52. Why parents scold you? When was the last time you received scolding from father or mother frequency of a scolding, common reason as per father, as per mother, as per brother, as per sister, where you beaten ever why. Now this is a peep into your culture. I mean, the way you have been cultured by your parents. So they are basically asking you. I always believe that parents are the people who want to make you better. So they initially scolding is fine, and it should be well received, because they always feel and they always wish you well. So their scolding has to be received well. So when parents scold you, you should receive it well. When was the last time you received scolding? I'm sure you people must not be doing anything extreme. So you must be getting scolded for small minor things. I'm sure that must be the case, until and unless you are a complete dacoit. In case you are, then I'm sorry to say armed forces not looking forward to you. But if you've done small trivial mistakes, people scold you, not for the benefit that they are nagging. They are basically trying to make you better. Have you ever seen a pot maker improve the pot? What they keep doing, they play with the mud to make it better, so that it shapes into a complete round pot, which is used for your drinking, or if they are making different ways, then also they do that correction. So similarly, you are personalities which have been curated, you have been created by properly with your parents, with the help of your parents, teachers and everyone. So scolding should be well received. There should be not too much of scolding. If you are not shameless, you may have never got excessive scolding. You must have gone 1 or 2 scolding, sometimes in a month or sometimes in 6 months, 2-3 scolding, that's it. If you are healthy. So that is something which you should tell them also. Don't deny, because it's natural and it is good. Getting scolding is important to correct ourselves. Not that always. Now they are asking how frequency. Now there are some people who go and tell that I get scolded every day. Now what are they basically doing? They are exposing their shamelessness. They are exposing how, unobservant, how irresponsible they are. Because if you are getting scolded, you should receive the knowledge and direction well to correct yourself. So this question will be asked, and please prepare all your questions. The practice of these question answers will help you to open your mind. I've also said that while you understand the basic reason behind it, basic logic behind it, and what you are supposed to say, I'm sure you will understand that you all have also not done such big mistakes. Now what happens, there are sometimes candidates, when they go and they give their interview, they try to satisfy the interviewer. In the process, they give long answers. They try to make up stories, which is not called for. So sit down with yourself. This is your self-analysis program, where you're going to learn how to correct yourself and present it lightly. Your answer should be short, precise and concise. But if you will sit with yourself, then only you will do that. Then you have to master the art to speak whatever it is. There is nothing very outstanding which they are picking up from you. They're okay if you have some mistakes. But if you hide too much of it, or you tend to elaborate too much of it, there is a problem. So remember the suggestions and do your homework. Beaten. Now there are some people who are, initially I remember that I used to play with the electricity board and I got beaten after I did it twice. That you have learned once, now you should not have repeated. But that time I was too small. And the experiments and adventure was common at that point of time, and with the kind of restless mind, learning mind, I always used to finger out. So that time I was given a small beating to make you understand, make me understand. See, whenever parents or brother or sisters love you, and if you escape an accident where you were very casual, you'll find that your father will scold you and probably slap you also. That you couldn't you see that? Now that is the quality of a father or a brother, because they get emotionally charged. So to make that learning permanent, they slap you, don't they? Initially. But when you are sensitive and fine, it does not become a regular affair. So small beatings you may have picked up early in your childhood, but I'm sure if you are of good mind, you will not be getting beaten every now and then. And if you do, then I'm sorry to say that it speaks that how shameless you are, and you are not fit for the armed forces. I certainly feel so, because you are become so rigid and so shameless and something like this, right? Now you will blame the parents. Well, parents are not there for the interview, so automatically you will be misjudged. So this is my cue to you, that speak relevant, speak true, but speak to the point. Let's come down to question number 53. Who decides in your house matters from father or mother? Give examples in case they do differently. Which issue father decides on, which issue mother decides. You know, if you have lived in good rearing of parents, you will find you must have picked up subconsciously good leadership. You know, when a father is speaking on the right topic and the mother is speaking on the right topic, and both of them are having some kind of harmony with each other, that is the beauty of the relationship. That is the beauty of the relationship. Here, what you actually do is, you actually get into that rhythm of taking the right decision everywhere. Otherwise, you land up into the negative decision. Is it clear? So the same thing applies here, that if you have learned that your mother has a nice role, there are some families where mother and father fight for rights. There are somewhere where the girls, unfortunately, abetted by other people. I have learned from my Allahabad University's experience that no one is foolish, particularly wise people never fight until unless they have a backup army. And these backup armies are always wrong people. Sometimes the lady, abetted by their sister, brothers, keep creating nagging situation without using the wisdom, and in the process spoils her relationship. Similarly, a man abetted or misdirected or living in illusions does mistake, and in the process spoils the relationship. Sometimes it is outer attraction which also creates a problem. So if you are wise, you will understand you don't need all such attractions. You are very clear, you know what is happening, so you will not. See, movies, actors and actresses are only fit for the movie. They're not for the real life. It looks good, but when you see them in real life, you'll find them that they look pretty odd rather than what you see them. So therefore, if you are wise, you will understand that you should not get misleaded. But unfortunately, human mind and people, they love to play with the other people's life. They love to misguide people. They love to try to orient other people's life. They try to talk bullshit and they try to disturb the others, because that is the way they think competition runs. They do not think that it is a wholesome reality. Now, why am I giving this lecture? Because this is what you have picked up. When your parents have mutual respect, they are mutually nice. For mother is nice to father's brothers and sisters, and father is nice to mother's brothers and sisters. But when there is a competition, and sometimes when those brothers and sisters start creating a battlefield, what happens? You suffer chaos. You as a child suffer chaos. And this is very, very unfortunate, very, very unfortunate. And in the four walls, these kind of bad episodes disturb your psychology. That is what is being asked here. They want to identify how your house runs. And if your house runs nicely, where mutually they do, you should tell that. If you cry too much on your house problems and you had, then I think you need psychological correction before you rush to a SSB interview. But if you've never had that extreme thing, so you should dilute and speak only relevant things. Do not multiply the situation to try to pretend that you are a victim of circumstances. Do not. It will harm you. You may have been, but it will harm you in your selection. You should be strong enough to forego. Because remember one thing, after you clear your SSB, you begin a new history. You begin a new life. You begin a life where you begin a career, and later on, after some time, you begin a family. Yes, you should be grateful to your everyone before, but in case you have bad memories, you should cure it. Got it? So that is why they ask you all this, because these are living, leading examples, leader examples at your home, at your doorstep. So if your parents have been very nice to each other, you should appreciate that and you should be very, very thankful that your parents are still a family. The people who are divorced, unfortunately, many rarely clear, because if the parents divorce, they have a very, very bad influence on the child, and the child thereafter becomes orphan, mentally orphaned. So therefore, this point is very important. I hope you understand, and you can decide whatever you want to write. In case you want any suggestion from us, you can connect with us. Now let's come down to question number 54. Which kind of family you joint or nuclear? What you feel is a better kind of family system, the positive and negative of both the system of family, what you grade as a better between the two. Now see, nuclear family is when you have father, mother and you brothers, sisters. May max you may have grandparents. But joint family is when father is living with a lot of brothers and they are all living together. So you have a system like a banyan tree. Now in that kind of family, there are many positive points. In single family, there are certain other positive points. In single family, you learn to become efficient. You learn to become self-reliant because nobody is going to come and help you. But in joint family, you tend to sometimes become handicapped to others and you tend to become lethargic. This is natural on many joint families where they start playing passing the parcel kind of game, where they don't take responsibilities. This is unfortunate, but it is true. So generally in joint family, if it is healthy, where the grandparents or your parent are mutually keeping everybody active, it is the best format. Like in the armed forces. Armed forces is a joint family where everyone is working as a discipline. But in case that joint family is not working in discipline, it tends to make you negatively shaded. And that is difficult. So therefore, asking you this is important. If you have lived in joint family and you've got good order in it, please appreciate it and tell how it is important and how you have lived and how you have multiplied your working and how you multiply and how you efficiently you act in different forms. Now in nuclear family for that matter, if you are working naturally in the nuclear family, you tend to become reliant. So you can tell about the nuclear family that, sir, I think it's good. It makes me self-reliant. My father always tells me, keep working, and I have become multi-talented in that phase. No problems. You can say that. But they may ask you what is the positive and negative. You can just appreciate. Now in joint family, what happens? You have to accommodate more. That's true. In nuclear family, you may play your own music system. For example, in joint family, you are living and you want to play a music system. You'll have to be careful that the other cousin of yours does not get affected if he is studying. But in nuclear family, you are the only person, so you can play your music system aloud. Similarly, nuclear family gives you a certain amount of freedom, but joint family gives you the strength of cooperating and learning from each other. I'm sure that whatever be your family, nuclear or joint, you should be appreciative of a healthy joint family. Why? Because you're going to join the armed forces, and in the armed forces is going to be a healthy joint family. I'm sure you will appreciate it because that's, the joint family system has to come back. The community system should be there. Our society has been misled by the Wild West of talking of freedom, and thus today they are facing the problems. We should wake up your eyes in time. Armed forces is already an organization where the healthy joint system exists, where everything is running properly into hierarchical part and also as a system. So that's it. I hope I've given you the clue. Still confusions? Get back to me. Coming down to question number 55. Where do you receive schooling from? Now that they are going to ask about your school, the percentages from class 6th. Now many of you may not remember the percentage dot to dot. And when they waver it twice and thrice, and if you cheat them by telling unnecessarily, next time when they waver it, you create inconsistency. So it is better for you to go back to your class understanding of your results and create it and remember it. I have always said that good memory means good intelligent person. So if anybody has good memory, remembers everything systematically, it is a good intelligent person. So you should write that. In case you had a percentage drop, that does happen. Like you were having in 10th say 90%, but in 11th you went down, because it's a shift of energy. Shift of your psychological energy. Earlier you were paying attention to studies. Now in 11th class you decided, let me picnic around and participate in extracurriculars or games and other things. You have a drop. Not that this is the fatal drop. It is not a fatal drop. It is not a deadly drop. It is only a drop in certain percentages, and you pick it up. Why do they ask this question? They ask because they want to check your consistency of effort. And if you had a drop, you must have shifted the energy. That is what they want to ask. What you did thereafter to improve, naturally, you sat back and focused more. Right? In case you did not, why? In case you regularly had a drop, then you can tell whatever your personal circumstances are, whatever your situational circumstances are. Remember, everybody is not a hero every time. Sometimes the situations even get the superheroes down to earth. Don't forget that this gentleman, superstar Amitabh Bachchan, also at certain period of time, for a few years, went through a very, very bad patch in life. He had his organization going down to bankruptcy. So this is part and parcel of everyone's life. So one has to understand that these things have to be taken in the right format. You have to learn from it. So if you have dropped percentage, you should learn from it and improve it so that you keep consistent performance. And in case you have it, congratulations. You have learned the art of stabilizing your progress. Is it clear? Okay. Now we come down to question number 56. Your favorite subject, why, marks secured. In case had change of subject, then which section was your favorite? Why did you change the stream? Now they may ask you favorite subject. There are people I know sitting here that who have changed from science to bioscience or from science to arts. They are asked. They have done it. Why they have done it? You will have to give the answer. You should be very specifically clear. You are preparing your career and your parents are also directing you. Plus, you have a mindset. You should have a trajectory. Now, why? Because you're a wise person. You're not wise, then we don't want you for the armed forces. You're wise, you have an idea, fine, we want you in the armed forces, particularly as officers. Because as officers, you will be responsible to take decisions for yourself and for others. So if you're not wise, please stay home, enjoy your picnic. But if you're wise, welcome. So that's exactly what they want to ask you. Mark secured, in case why. And then they ask which section was your favorite, whatever you did. Why did you change the stream? Now if they ask you why did you change the stream, they are actually identifying what is your second perspective. Now I'll give you my example. My example was that I had basically done my studies. After 10th I changed to biostream. And I had very clear idea that I would like to become a doctor. But unfortunately in few places when I went for an evaluation and I found my sensitivity to certain amount of surgery and all, people advised me that I think I'm a more humane person rather than being brutally accurate like a surgeon. And there, as a doctor, it is natural that I will come across certain circumstances. And now this suggestion, I took it very nicely and I realized that maybe as a doctor, I won't be able to handle those blood situations and that wouldn't be very fair for me. So timely I corrected after my 12th and shifted to psychology. And there I went on to prepare it not only as a subject to pursue later, but also as a subject for my civil services, which also was my option of direction. I wanted to go into the civil services and go into the administrative. Now you'll say, why are you here? I want to tell you. I went after my graduation into the armed forces, OTA. Why? Because I realized that in political intervention in the civil services is not the best of it. And many a time competent people are just carrying the load of their uniform and they're not able to perform. So I realized that I still have time to correct, so I'll go into the armed forces. I did. But unfortunately, after a certain period of time, because of family circumstances, I came out. Nevertheless, now I decided that I have come out, so now I better prepare myself for the civil services. I did, but along with it, I started teaching people because this institution had come into action, had come into life. So I started working, I started enjoying the teaching, and somewhere, because of my diverted energy, I became a teacher rather than a civils. Now, why this story? I'm not here to waste your time in my stories. It is only to make you understand that these kind of circumstances happen with you. But your perspective should be clear. And if your perspective is clear, that means you're wise enough to understand that stability is the game. If you're stable in your thought process, if you're stable in what you want to do, if you keep options. Now, there are boys here going for the cadet entry scheme and they are also preparing for IT but also going for it. Why are they going there? They're going this because that IIT entrance is common for cadet entry scheme and technical entry scheme. So if they get selected in the Navy, their parents realize that it's a good governmental organization. In the present scenario, you know that the outer countries which were a blessing for IIT graduates, the situation is disastrously changing. Now the IIT graduates will not be going to enjoy that kind of boom time which they earlier did. And in the country, one of the best organizations is Armed Forces. So if they are coming to Navy, they are also blessing themselves with a proper direction and they have a right to dream good, to act good and to go for a good profession. So Navy officer as a technical person or Army officer as a technical person is a wonderful opportunity and you're going for it, fine. But along with it, since you do not know how your future is going to turn out and your parents teach you practically that you should have a second option, you've kept a second option. You've kept a second option of IIT. So that's perfectly okay. I'm sure that in case you make it through the IIT also, and if you get this job and here you are gaining a career, so you may join it. But in case, otherwise you will join that. And in case you don't make it into IIT also, you're going to use that excellence to join some good college and thereafter get the degree and try again, probably into Navy, Army, or go into the corporate, whatever the case may be. So I've given you a suggestion. Your crystal clarity of thought is required in the SSB. So when you go there, they will ask you. Now you will say, sir, I have never thought this. This is not going to work. We are looking for proactive thinkers. Proactive means people who think with a foresight. So is it clear? So all these questions you have to be prepared, particularly characters who have changed the stream or doing things. Your favorite teacher, why? Your worst teacher, why? Now always remember, a good teacher always inspires you. Your favorite teacher will always inspire you, and if it is your favorite subject, I'm sure that the teacher would be from the same subject. That is why your performance has been multiplied. Not that it would have never been done, but generally a favorite teacher helps you fall deeper in love with your subject. So, and if you have performed well, it is proof that you have done well in this subject. So if you've got good marks in any subject and you realize that the teacher really taught you well, I think that's the best answer, because it matches with the evidence, it also matches with your liking. Then it comes to your worst teacher. Generally, if you are very critical, poor in adaptability, you will have teachers, you will blame teachers, you will call them bad, you will call them worst. But if you are intelligent, you will use every teacher appropriately. Even if you consider me a bad teacher, no issues, but you should use the information I'm giving you. Use my experience of 30 plus odd years of mentoring for your benefit. If you use it wisely, you will gain a lot of things. The experience will help you. So same thing, you wouldn't be calling teacher bad or worst, right? I mean, normally no, because every teacher educates. The modus operandi, the method of teaching may be different. But if you learn, somewhere you enjoy it more, somewhere you enjoy it less. But being critical about worst teacher speaks that you are poor in adaptability and you have a critical nature. So I would always advise that in worst teacher you should have none. Or if you feel there were some teachers who came for a short period of time in your college, but for discipline reason or for the casualness, they were sent back, and you think you agree with the principal for sending them back rightly, you can say that. There may be a subject which you don't like, and that is why you didn't like the teacher, not because the teacher was bad, but because you did not have any interest in the subject. Particularly, you had Sanskrit, many of you, at least I used to have. That way, as a human, Sanskrit teacher was brilliant. But as an individual, because I didn't like the subject, that was a little complicated, too much of methodical system, I used to call that teacher. Not my type. Though, nothing to blame. So I've given you entire explanation. You can identify your soul, you can identify your options and answer that. Okay, now we come down to question number 58. What you liked about your school and college and what you did not like about your school, college. See, every school and college has a great environment, great regularity, great classmates, great everything. Now, if you're cribbing every time my school was in this world, that means you are very poor in social adaptability, because whatever it is, even the jungle becomes a heaven if you're ready to carve it. If you know how to carve it, it will become heaven. So if you are cribbing about school and college too much, it speaks poor of your social adaptability. But if you have certain things which you learn, so don't have to crib. You must have already made a space if you have stayed there. And if you did have issues, you must have changed the school, right? So if you have not and you are happy with it, that should be your answer. And what you did not like, if you get after it, that you have to tell, certainly there will be certain observations, certain shortcomings. Maybe the building is a little weak. Some places there must be some issues. Maybe that the chemistry lab has not proper ventilation. So when the ammonia goes into fire, it spreads everywhere and everybody knows that, okay, today the chemistry lab created the ammonia. Or there may be other issues. Maybe that the urinal has been not properly located or the system. Such kind of small situations would be there. And you must have solved it somehow by putting phenyl or other things. But you must have thought that, wish this urinal was not here, it was somewhere else. So all these kind of things of observation you can do. I've always said that if you have got a wise, intelligent mind, you will always be observing things with a practical perspective. And thus you will give a good answers for the same. So remember that is exactly what they're looking at. They're looking at how intelligent you are in observing and applying it. So please do that. That is how everybody becomes, because when you were born zero. But the moment you picked up certain senses, you learned language, you learned receiving ideas, you learned observing, you became wiser. You went to school, you learned. You went to neighborhood, you learned. You indulged with relatives, you learned. So everything comes from there. Now we come down to question number 59. What your school's history and special achievement of your school, if any? I think you should be proud of your school history. You are also part of it and you're part of the team. So if you say about your school history, they ask you please do your whole homework. Go back, identify which are the good alumni of your school. And that makes you proud. That also inspires you. So you should be aware of it. When it was created, what were the things? No, come on. So many of you say that I was a head boy of the school, but you don't know when the school was created. Now that becomes contradiction. So try to be sharp and do your homework. And when you say, if they ask you, where did you do so much of it? Just you can say that I read a book, I read different questions and I prepared them. They're not going to throw you out. They will realize that you are a serious and a nice person. Now, if you say that you crafted your answer, is a problem. But if you prepared your answer for every question, there's no problem. You have full right to do that. Is it clear? Getting the point? Each one of you? So, your school's history and special achievement, if any. Did you change school? If so, why? Compare your both school, the old and the new one. Particularly characters sitting here who have been part of the defense family and shifted schools, they have done it because of their parents' postings. But sometimes you change schools. You change schools because of some n number of reasons. And that reasons may be that the school was till class 10th and thereafter you changed, or you found some family situational problem, so you had to change so that you are near the home and you are easy for the day-to-day working. Now these kind of answers are acceptable. But if you try to say that you spend a major time in one school and then you critically feel it was not good and then you left, I think you again have those seeds of critical analysis. When you are very, very critical about things, it speaks about your negative thought process. So you should be positive about your life, you should be positive about things, and you should understand that whatever you do for the better. But that doesn't mean that you have to call somebody worse to call it better. So you can go with the healthy approach. Is it clear to all of you? Now, this is how they will ask you. Now, we'll go for a small break and come back to you with the other questions. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.